Welcome back to Multi-Passionate Mompreneur, and today we're talking all things freebies, lead magnets, basically anything where someone opts in to be a part of your email list in exchange for some value. Today we're also going to talk about, do I need to rework a current freebie that you have? Or if you don't have one, what are some ideas that you can do to kind of figure out what exactly you should put out there? Welcome back to the Multi-Passionate Mompreneur podcast, where we choose to focus our energy, embrace our strengths, and move toward the compelled businesswomen we were meant to be. It's time to free ourselves from the chaos and the constant stream of ideas and build a life of impact and joy that honors our hard stuff, that makes meaning of our losses, and that helps us to make an impact in the world. It's time to finally take our power back and gain the follow-through that we've been desperately needing, while also learning to leave the swirl behind. I'm Angel McElhaney, motherless daughter, self-discovery junkie, and not so master juggler of my crazy crew. And I believe you can have it all. So put down that to-do list, grab that coffee, and let's get to work, one day at a time, together. And a lot of times people won't need to actually change the entire content of it, but maybe they are not focused on the largest pain point, or possibly maybe even coming up with a juicier title or one that is more clickable. So this is all part of Work With Me Wednesdays that is happening in Multi-Passionate Mompreneur. So head over there if you want to dive in next week, because we will be doing a poll on different things that we are working through right then. And this is going to be things that can kind of help you to implement deeper and very specific to your business. So today in the group, we have Michelle, but the idea, what we want to think about, and these questions that I want you to ask yourself is, who is my person that I am speaking to? What is her language that she is actually describing her struggle as? And then what is, so not only the pain point, but what is the language she's describing it as? And then to go deeper is that her biggest pain point? Because if you're not getting the bites, even though you know it's great content, possibly it is something that is not her largest one. So maybe it's something like on your to-do list. I want you to think of like, okay, yes, I actually want to go and order I need some stuff that will clean the jets in my tub. Okay. Like deep clean, like all up in there. Right. But it's not like going to be as large on my mind as like the mad dash I need to do before the hubby comes home. Okay. So I'm just saying, like, what is that? And yes, that's not a huge problem, but right there is my bathroom. So there we go. It came to mind. So if you're thinking about like the hierarchy of the problem, where is it? And you might even be thinking, well, I know the solution to the problem and this is what she needs first. But she's probably thinking more like problem-based thinking. So I want you to almost gear back to that main big thing that's super juicy. So let's get started. Which one of you want to go first? Michelle, you want to go first? All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So Michelle has a podcast. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your show and who it is that you serve, and kind of answer some of those questions that I just mentioned.
Okay, yeah, my podcast is Set Free Sisterhood, and I am speaking to women who are stuck in a loop, specifically drinking on a daily basis, and they're just feeling like they're just on a roller coaster and continuing same old every day and in and out. They feel like super isolated and disappointed in themselves, and but they are very disciplined women. They are moms, they work. They've got most of it, quote unquote, together, especially on the outside. But there's just this internal battle that they have that with all emotions, they go straight to the wine bottle. So I've been speaking on the podcast, teaching about the mind. We're going to talk a lot about health and what it looks like to break free from the cycle. So right now, what I've been researching and asking about is finding out from them what is the biggest struggle that they had in the first 30 days and what they wish they knew. And so I've been getting some language back from them. And so I think that's where I want to start.
Yeah, I think that's good, because you definitely want to use their words. So if you know some of those, what are some that pop up to you whenever you did that market research?
So they would say things like they felt like they were punishing themselves. They realized after, this is beyond looking back, knowing that they had to do it for themselves, not other people. The physical symptoms, knowing about headaches, lack of energy, lack of sleep, the getting out of your own head, that mind chatter, accepting that your body had to take time to recover. And then it went into the mood, the like dealing with triggers and being grumpy and the fatigue and stuff like that. So a lot of anxiety, things very specific, but just really looking at how do I take that and I want to give them a solution. I want them to be prepared, because I'm giving this to someone who's thinking about stopping drinking, or that's, that's going to be coming into my group next month to give up alcohol. I need to kind of say, hey, here's what you could potentially expect, but I also want to give them a solution to like take action on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And so what's going to happen is this can kind of build up some trust and some credibility for them to want to believe in themselves, but also trust you that you're the person to help them with this. So I know that you're doing a challenge in your group, and it's called Ditch the Wine Witch. So let's focus in on the problem that person's going to have in October around drinking. So obviously we know that they're dealing probably with everything that we're dealing with right now with COVID, or with possibly not, maybe social situations around, like, I don't think people are really doing Halloween parties as much. So that might be actually easier, but they might not have their gym. Like a lot of gyms maybe aren't as active, or their normal routine. Or I know that we talked a little bit before we hopped on that like the support from the spouse, or if a spouse keeps drinking, that you had a huge response whenever you put that out into the world. So is that the pain point that you maybe want to help them solve a little bit, or how to combat that? Because if we can find something super specific that's helping her, just even one problem, super specific, so that she'll kind of gain some belief and be like, oh, I can do this, to do the whole shebang for October.
Yeah.
So what would you say? I mean, would that be like something to support helping, dealing with that? Like basically people, you're going to have all these things that society says that you need. Like you can't do it without your partner. How will you still have fun? Will you guys still go to wine night, or, wine tasting, or, your thing, that the way you hang out? So it's an underlying Band-Aid to a problem. Because the problem probably is maybe they're not like connecting with their husband without like eating or drinking, or something more healthy, like going on a hike or something. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that could be something. You're going to knock down all of these problems that they have. And yes, I'm talking with my hands. Yeah, I usually have it off. Okay. It's a workout. No. All right. But, or you could go the other route to where you are helping them. Like, what do you think is their main biggest problem? Like the one problem, the biggest one that you had whenever you tried to do it. We know you succeeded. So if we know that what your biggest roadblock that made you, before you even decided like, I'm doing this, what was in your way, or what did you have to do that was your main thing? Like if you had to pick one, because we're just going to do one.
Well, and I will say though, as you were chatting, I kind of got this vision of taking these very specific things and giving them various solutions, because we know I can't roadmap a specific just one thing for a bunch of people, because the thing about this journey is that it takes a variety of things. It's not just accountability. It's not just setting boundaries. It's not just moving your body, like it's the layers. So I kind of see something that maybe would say, feeling FOMO, wanting to go out, because that was one of the responses. Mm-hmm. Like if, then here's, try this, giving them options, or, are you having anxiety, do this. And even, I could even recommend, when it comes to the health part, some even natural remedies other than moving, because that's a huge part, like magnesium, and then, possibly melatonin, because sleep gets all whacked. So I just wondered if I can even just give them a, like, here's the things we're going to expect to happen. You may have, let's just say I have 10 of these 10 things. Well, that one woman may experience all 10, or she could experience 3, but under each category, if she has sort of some like options, it's either go for a walk or, do something else, to dance, like get this energy, this physical nervous energy out.
So maybe it is something that's more of a variety, to where you can pull from the different spots and still be like, obviously the focus primary thing that she's really wanting is to drink less alcohol. And you don't want to focus like too much, especially in the name, on like the problems, because then you're pointing out like all the bad stuff, and you want them, you know what I mean? Like drawing attention to that. But what if you focus on, it could even be something like 5 easy ways to drink less. Like, you're not saying that you have, like, I feel like mentally, like, drinking less is going to be easier than quitting. Like, just for like a freebie, like for them to try. Because you want them, the more they try, like try for someone. I know Liz, you can chime in at any time. So, because it's super informal, but she posted mindful drinking, like almost to like be aware, like increase their self-awareness, like how much are you drinking quiz type of thing. And we can get super creative with the name, of course, but there are some different things where you can create a quiz or a flow chart, like, so that so they can have more awareness. Like, am I drinking too much? Maybe they have no clue how much. And then maybe you could even, I know you're big on the science side of it. So if you figure out, like, I know I watched a video once and this guy was talking about scientifically, or from like, he was a doctor or someone was a doctor that he went to, it was a video, and it was saying how, like, I don't know how they came up with this number, but it was like 7 drinks per week was like, after that, like the health, diminished or whatever. And then it was never like, he was trying, he found his own like parameters of that. So I don't know if that's something that could help, to where they were started out drinking less, and then they get that little like push of, oh, I can do this. So then they go for the whole month with you, but something to like get them to even try a little bit. Now, one strategy I want to tell everyone that you can do, and I think I've mentioned this to you, Michelle, but you can go onto Google or to Pinterest and start typing in your niche, and do not click on anything, because if you click it, then you are getting the input of other people, and that will totally cloud your content. But if you see what comes up, that will tell you what people are searching. So I just put in how to stop drinking alcohol, and some things that come up are, and yes, you would not click these, but you would take these for inspiration only. You can also do this with a book. Say you open a chapter, or like a book, and you just look at the chapters, and you're like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot. I know all about self-sabotage, or, setting up boundaries, or setting up a morning practice, whatever this is, but you're just using it for inspiration. Almost like we even do for our news feed, like, oh, I saw this post and it just reminded me of XYZ that I already knew, so, but you draw on your own learning. Okay. So some stuff that comes up are 3 tips to help you push through alcohol cravings. And that's pretty specific, because you're talking about like, the cravings itself. How to break the wine o'clock habit today. What happens when you stop drinking alcohol? Here's what happened to me. And these aren't all freebies, so you would have to probably like tweak and get a freebie out of these type of things, but it's a way to like start. 7 signs your drinking is out of control. So that would definitely increase their awareness. I think that the alcohol cravings keeps to come up a lot. Mm-hmm. So, and that could be where you could maybe offer them a solution where they have some sort of accountability partner in the group, or you later, once they're in there, but we're trying to get them to go in there. So that could be maybe the natural remedies. It could be where you're saying things to ease it. So you're basically saying like, you're going to have this roller coaster, but these are the tips that are going to make it more like a lazy river, which is going to make them more likely to succeed. So, and it could even be like 7 things that I did to stop drinking. And you're going to, obviously we're like not dumbing it down, but we are like simplifying it to these 7 things. Like you worked out, you made a morning practice, you like, whatever these are. And it can be like even in a checklist type thing, because just to help people that are on the podcast, like, so a freebie could be literally a checklist. It could be a video. It could be a morning practice. It could be taking a chapter from the beginning look of a course or a book. It could be a habit inventory, like something like we mentioned where it's helping your self-awareness come alive kind of, or it could be something for implementation, a self-discovery workbook, something like that. But, we can make it our own. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm thinking too, like, well, first of all, it's hard to simplify it because I just want to give them all the things, right?
Yes.
That's kind of my desire. I want to teach you this. I want to teach you this.
You're going to teach them all that when they get there.
But I'm going to teach them that in the group. So I wonder if I did something like, the seven ways I, crushed drinking cravings or stopped drinking, or like use those keywords, and then still take their language of like, if they said fear of missing out, then I could create something that, when I felt like I was missing out, I did this, this, and this. Or, when I got I felt headaches and lack of energy, I did this, this, and this, because it's still speaking back to what they've already said they're struggling with.
Well, and maybe it could even be something like 5 ways to unwind without wine or how to relax without alcohol. Like you're basically saying like, this is how I did it, or how to quit. But like you're giving them a piece of it to build their confidence up. And then they come to your podcast and they hear your voice and they get the belief, they borrow your belief that you have in them before they even have it in themselves. Then they come to your group. And then they keep coming and then they're like, you know what? I went a couple of days. Like I can, and then they DM you and then they're like, oh, I actually, and they maybe hear something that you said and it resonated, or a post that you did. And then I feel like they build it, but they don't know yet, And so it's kind of like getting them to just have a little, I definitely think the how to beat alcohol cravings, how to relax without it is going to be like one of the big ones. Let's see.
And let me ask you really, really quickly too, this is kind of where and this is going to be the implementation part of it, is once you get this, how do you communicate to people? Because I've heard there's like a direct and an indirect way to promote it. Obviously, like if I'm in groups, I'm like, hey, and I'm talking to someone, hey, I've got this thing. Do you, let me give it to you. And then it brings it back in there. But like, what is and you may want to talk about this later, but like, what is the process of once this is created to get it in people's hands so that it shoots them into the group?
Well, you already know how to make a landing page and you've already set it up like that. But for the people who are listening, you can set it up in a Google Doc and have that link. And some people will have to where your like Flowdesk or MailChimp will just then send it to them once they opt in. But I think you're talking about like, how do I give them the link without being salesy? And so whenever you're on your podcast and you're doing an episode, and that's one way, go back and look at the episode names and think about like, oh, I'm telling them what to do. Like I'm talking at them. What would they need or what could help them to implement this? And I do think that you could test out a couple different ones and kind of see which ones are doing well. And then also look at how much you are connecting with people in the DMs or in your group to make sure they know about it. One strategy is if you are having them go into the group and you're giving them the email, like they give you the email address, then you can load it into your files so they can have it for free because they've already given you the email. You then promote that the result from the freebie in your stories, you invite them to the group to come get it. This is also a way to grow your group for sure. And then you definitely just like, you can go to the different groups that have the promotion ones, like where you can share something. If you know some of these groups where they have the alcohol, like the person's there, like people who are quitting alcohol, you could message the admin and say, I created this thing that I think is going to really help. Do you mind if you want to look at it? And would you mind if I shared it? You never know. All you can do is ask. And then on your main page, and then in the DMs, like, hey, I created this, especially if there's someone right now that you knew. I know that you said you had 150 responses, but for the one thing that you talked about. And so I almost think that's a great opportunity to solve that specific problem too. So if you think about a freebie for that, then it's not weird if you message those individual people and you get them to, like, hey, you said that you had this problem. I have this solution, and you give it to them. Like,
right.
That's not weird because you literally just said you have this problem. Like, I can't get out of my own head, like all of these that they're saying, like, and then when you are promoting it, you say, do you feel like you can't get out of your own head? Like, you're making it harder than it is. Okay. Like, all you need to do is just do one step at a time, 1 minute, whatever it is that they say, use those words whenever you're promoting it. But in naming it, I definitely like let's go back to that just so we don't get lost. But
sure.
What was it? The 5 ways to relax, 5 ways to relax without alcohol, or how to unwind without wine, or I know 7 ways to drink less today, or this week, or how to drink less when your partner is like, what is something that we can pull out from that 150 is a ton of people and that tells me that a lot of them, that was a roadblock. I'm sure it's something like how to have maybe things to do. Let's brainstorm some things to do with your husband that don't involve alcohol. Or it's all about like, you're basically not even thinking about alcohol. You're talking about like how to connect without that part that you're used to. You're used to going to breweries, used to going to like eating and drinking or out with friends or parties or whatever that is. And now it's like, well, what do we do now? Maybe you go for a hike. Maybe you, go to on a normal year a sporting event or a concert or something like that. And then even then, like, that might be one thing, like how to have fun without alcohol, or let's see.
Because
weekends would be a big one. Do you know what I mean? Like, that would almost be a tip, I would think, is someone to start on like a Sunday. Do you know what I mean? Or something like that. Like, so that they're stronger by the time they come back. Let's see. I know that there's some that popped up like, here's what happened to me when I stopped drinking alcohol. These are great for like brainstorming I feel like riffing different ideas for
podcast
episodes. Yeah. If you don't click on them, you just can't click on them. You got to just use inspiration. Like maybe if you said 10 reasons why you drink too much, or I really like the idea of drinking less, because I feel like you said take a break one time, like 5 signs it's time to take a break from alcohol. Or I love the wine witch thing. Like, so I wonder because that just like draws like a really like fun thing to me, like a picture. But
it could be even, especially now, even going into that is, 5 ways to win against the wine witch, or to shut her up, or, something in that effect. Because because that's the thing too, is we know that there are those that are just sort of like maybe thinking about taking a break. Like they're in the early stages of like, that might need more of the questionnaire of like, am I drinking too much? But then there's the ones that are already in it and they're deeper and they know exactly who the wine witch is, you say that and they're like, we know who she is. And so how do we shut her up? So it would be kind of speaking, and that's where maybe down the road there might be a couple of freebies that are speaking to wherever you are on the spectrum.
I feel like that definitely, because you can have multiple. I think the idea is that you don't want to combine them all in one.
Right.
But ditching the wine witch and like almost like knocking her off her broom is going to be it's basically saying shut up the chatter, like ways to combat the chatter. And that goes in with the language when you've already got. And so it's kind of, but maybe we flip that to where it's something still fun in Halloween because you kind of got this theme going. And then you could even look, how many ways was that? 4 or 5 that you had for the language?
I actually have more, but
but
sure.
Like, let's say you have, 4 ways to ditch the wine witch, or whatever it is. You could test that one, maybe test 7 ways, change the number with whatever, 7 ways to relax without, or what was it? 7 ways to drink less. Is that what it was?
Yeah. Or, this week, or 5 ways to relax without alcohol.
Let's see. Because something that would boost their awareness. And then let's see. All right. So
I love the ditch the wine witch and knock her off her broom because it makes me laugh and it's catchy, right?
Yeah, it is catchy.
Like, you would see that and kind of giggle, but then even people that might not even understand who that is would click just because it's kind of like, what is that about?
Yeah.
So that might even.
And then whenever you dive into it, it's definitely the chat, you're still addressing that one that popped up whenever people were giving you all that language. Let's see here. 5 reasons why you drink too much alcohol. I feel like you got a ton, at least enough for like 3 to test. So what you could do is the one that you already have, maybe we could rework that to where that's kind of talking about the wine witch, like how to shut her up and knock her off her broom. And then what you can do is if you go into Canva, you can make kind of like what we did with that one challenge we did together where it was 3 different graphics. Like one was a little video thing, remember, that could be of you like talking and using the same language. Another one could be doing like a picture. Or they even have where you can like animate it where she pops up or something. There's probably a broom if you search it. Maybe like be really cool if there was a witch and you could just come bing, knock her off. Maybe Virginia Kerr from that one video episode that we posted on here. I know she recommended video shop, so there might be a way that you can like compile different pictures or something. Just play with it to just make it fun. But I think that you could even take this to your group the people that and maybe even ask, you can like, hey, I'm doing this, ditch the wine witch in October. And I want something to help people realize that it's not going to be as daunting, like, so they can get a little win. Like, what would you like, ask them just so that they could also tell you exactly what they need. You know what I mean? Like, what do you think this sounds like? And maybe even give them the 3 options we just said so that you know which one you think to kind of would go even more. So like your market research, and all of them would either, maybe they would want to come in to support those women too, or maybe they would want to, compile. I feel like no matter what, it's going to add value because you're going to get a lot of data, I hope you enjoyed this snippet from Work With Me Wednesday. This can be found over in Multi-Passionate Mompreneur, and I hope you join us next week so that we can really dive into your business and figure out what we can do to help you to move that needle a little bit farther. You can do this one day at a time together. Also, another thank you to Michelle Porterfield from Set Free Sisterhood. If you'd like to check out her podcast, it is amazing. Also, check out her new challenge coming out in October, or maybe even this new freebie we mentioned in this episode. Her group is Set Free Sisterhood, and you can also find her on Facebook. Hey mama, I am so excited. I have something so important that I have been working on just for you. Are you spending way too much time figuring out what to post on Facebook? Maybe you have this dream of this engaged, close community where you can share your gifts. Maybe you've even went as far as to create the podcast, blog, or YouTube channel that you know in your heart that you can use to help solve her problems, but you just can't get her to respond. Tired of the crickets? I totally get it. And it's not your fault. In a world full of hey girl messages, scripts, and lists, it's just so hard to get people to trust you. So now I've actually created the Facebook Engagement Accelerator course. And it is the course that you're going to be able to use to learn all the tools that you need in order to create and optimize a group where you can learn how to connect authentically so that you can then nurture those relationships to edify and empower your audience. You are actually going to be able to let them borrow the belief that you have in them for that moment so that they can be able to then do the work for themselves. They're going to get the wins, and you are going to actually be able to generate the leads from an authentic place where you are serving and helping. I want you to picture more time with your kids, a more engaged audience, and then ultimately it's going to actually be able to get you those responses that you're so longing for. She's going to be getting into your inbox and into those solutions. Instead of the other way around, you are actually going to be able to have so much engagement that you're going to end up being able to generate the leads that help sustain your business, but also sustain your heart. I can't wait to see what you do with this, and I can't wait to see you in there. If you are interested in the Facebook Engagement Accelerator, you need to come on over to our Facebook group, Multi-Passionate Mompreneur, or shoot me a voice DM over on Instagram or Facebook. I can't wait to talk with you because this is your time. All right, let's go.